everyone, this is Overmind and welcome back to another StarCraft replay analysis. Let me go ahead and introduce our players. Spawning on the right side of the map, in blue, our crafty Terran player, CraftynewB, from Clan Wraith, with a very awesome looking little clan icon. And, spawning on the left side of the map, our submitter from the Silver League, our red protoss player, maxbie. Thank you so much, maxbie, for submitting to me all of these replays so that I can cast them for my enjoyment and hopefully cast them in such a way that it will help you improve your game. I'm gonna go ahead and say it again. maxbie, this is not where you put the pylon when you're playing versus protoss and Terran. You want that concave, maxbie. I know I've said it many times. I know I'll say it again. And it's okay. If that is your biggest problem coming out of the Silver League and into the Gold League, that you put that pylon there, I can live with that. I actually would really like to start distilling these replay analyses down to sort of one or two things at the end that each player can work on, especially for these lower level games, because you do see several very consistent themes. maxbie's gonna scout! Oh, I'm so proud. Alright, so this positioning is wrong. maxbie's a little late on this scout. Usually you want to send it after you build that first pylon, at least in part because Terran tend to wall at the top of this ramp here. And that'll deny scouting, which is no good, but CraftynewB is going to go ahead and be a good sport, let this probe right in his base. This is Steve the Probe, and Steve the Probe is going to go in and see a couple things. He's going to count one barracks. He's going to come around the mineral line. He's going to count a refinery going down, almost finished, but not quite yet. He's going to see this barracks up at the top finish, and he's going to see this barracks down here starting. So Steve the Probe can tell our player maxbie several important things. And those things are things like, there could be Reapers, and that's important to know because you want to get a stalker out for that. There could be Reapers. There will likely be a decent-sized bio force. It's not impossible that CraftynewB would transition into tech as he continues the game, but certainly bio is what we're going to be seeing for the first bit of this. We don't know if it's going to be reactors or tech labs, for those annoying marauders, but probably bio. Back at our main base, we don't have the money. Oh no, we do have the money. We don't have the gas to build a stalker just yet, which is unfortunate because there is a possibility of Reapers. It doesn't actually look like CraftynewB is going to go ahead and do that, but whenever there's a chance, you want at least one stalker. We are going to go ahead and start warp gate research right about the time we do get that 50 gas, which is a good use of that gas, but you definitely want to have it sort of saved up beforehand, so you can start warp gate research and a stalker right around the same time, which is to say when the cybercore finishes. We have a forge up here, maxbie being pretty good about making sure to get his upgrades as the game goes on. That is something I've noticed. There it is. He's going to go ahead and build a robo, which is going to be good both for the observer scouting, but also because things like Immortals are really good at dealing with those annoying marauders that Protoss struggles against, especially early and mid-game. We do have that Stalker out now, which is going to be good. Gateways being added on. Pylon being added before a supply block happens, which is the time that you want to add that pylon. Pro being produced, which is good because probably maxbie is going to think about expanding pretty soon here, and having a few extra probes when you know you're going to expand is fine, because you can just move them right on down to that expansion. Go ahead and saturate that right up. maxbie's going to go ahead and throw down that expansion now, which is great, and he's producing pretty consistently. Looks like he is actually still making a zealot out of one of these, and a sentry out of another, so he hasn't been able to make warp gates yet. This one's going to go ahead and turn into a warp gate. So as these finish up, hopefully he'll be, yep, making them right into warp gates. Good. Very good. He does have an observer scout crossing the map. He's just entering, you can see the little dashed line, better on the mini-map. He's just entering sensor tower range, so that's going to tell him that he can be seen on the mini-map. He won't necessarily be detected, but clearly he was by this missile turret. So you want to pay attention to your scouts a little bit as you're maneuvering them into and through the base. But it's hard to pay attention to a lot of different things like this. We will note that maxbie's food is actually way higher than CraftynewB's. Worker supply and army supply a bit higher. But this early in the game, unless maxbie decides to attack, it's not necessarily a game-ending difference. We do have the hallucinated Phoenix Scout, which is a good alternative if you lose that first observer. You definitely want to keep scouting. Scouting is good. I will note that you should probably scout the other bases as well, because ninja expansions are just ugh. We see that an orbital is coming in. We don't see too much else, I don't believe. I don't know that it got up the ramp. Let me switch to the maxbie vision. Yeah, so he didn't see anything new up here, which is sort of unfortunate. He's gonna go ahead and build cannons. I'm actually gonna go ahead and switch to the maxbie cam for a little while. I want to note, I saw this 3 warp gates not being used. There we go. Alright, so you want to make sure that you're definitely using those consistently. He's gonna go ahead and bring them on down here. maxbie has pylons supporting these cannons, which is also going to mean that he's going to be able to warp in at the front, won't have to move them down all the time. maxbie's going to go ahead and see a reactor, 2 reactors, a tech lab. He sees that there's an engineering bay, researching upgrades. Gas is being mined from both geysers, and he sees a factory. So the factory kinda says lots of bio, maybe not so much tech. Like, he's just teching up now. I mean, I'd check around the base a little bit more than this. I would love to see this observer move around a little bit. Though I understand maxbie is afraid of it being sniped. See a reactor going down there, and a starport. And you see, those are the tech tree structures that if a Terran were teching earlier, you would have seen by now. But these 3 barracks with all the add-ons here kind of tell you what's going on. And of course maxbie has seen the tech lab on this barracks down here previously. I do see warp gates not being used quite quickly enough. There we go, there we go. Probably could do to saturate this base a bit better. You can build probes 2 at a time if you have 2 nexuses going on. And maxbie's money is getting a bit high, but he's sort of limited by gas, so he could probably stand to just put additional probes in these geysers. I think this probe is just kinda hanging out. Oh, wrong way. There he is. Yeah, he's not actually mining, he's just sort of kissing the geyser, making sure that it feels like it is valued in this army. maxbie is getting close to supply blocked. He's just hit it there, but he's almost done with 2 more pylons, so that's fine. He's gonna go ahead and add on a 3rd. He's researching Blink. He's getting a mothership core. I usually get mine a bit earlier than this because they're really helpful in holding off those early pushes. He's definitely being scanned. And we see a little bit of a delay on those warp gates. I'm seeing very consistently that there's sort of a bit of lag there on those warp gates, which is kind of unfortunate. So here, there's a warp gate cooldown that's just come back up. We're waiting. We're waiting. He's got the money. He's got some room in his supply. There we go. So we definitely want to hit those on time every time. Could be building probes here. Definitely want to get this saturated up. He's got 2 in each gas, which is alright, until he gets it all up and running. Not too much going on. As far as tech is concerned, he's going to go ahead and add on gateways, which is a good way to make sure that you keep your money down, which is what we want. And he'll certainly be able to afford it as he sort of saturates up this base, he needs to transfer some workers from his main base down to his natural. Since he built extra, it's nice to move them on down, then have it almost saturated as it's coming up. He does have a Colossus building. He does not yet have the upgrade, but that's okay. This Colossus is going to finish. He's going to go ahead and add on an extra robo. Colossus being very good at dealing with large numbers of bio units, so it's very good. Definitely want to produce out of here if possible. I don't think he has enough supply. So here we have a little bit of a supply block. Needs to build a pylon, needs to build a pylon. And we just see that while all the things that maxbie seems to be doing are pretty reasonable things, they're just a little bit slower. See here he just started the pylon. Just a little bit slower, just taking a little bit longer. You want to make sure that this is all very clean and tidy and together. I'm just going to go ahead and do something which is very good and build 3 pylons since he has several gateways going and he's up and producing. You want to build them more than one at a time at this point. Much like Terran want to build extra supply depots and Zerg want to build extra overlords. We have a scan here. Our Terran player knows exactly what maxbie has. I ought to check on him. We haven't scouted him in a bit, have we? That's a problem. We have a Widow Mine here. A large number of Vikings, which are probably meant to deal with those Colossi. Some Marauders, and some Marines as well. We will note that comparatively, maxbie has more workers going on. And he has just barely a slightly bigger army supply. However, CraftynewB is going to take a third. maxbie also going to go ahead and move out to take a third, which is probably a good idea. Although this space isn't quite saturated yet, so could stand to move down several workers from this base, especially now that this number has dropped as several mineral patches have been mined out. Definitely wants to go ahead and move some down here, and then go ahead and start working up a third, which it looks like maxbie is going to do. Definitely also wants to scout so that he knows when his opponent is expanding. And also wants to keep a watch to make sure his opponent does not take one of these gold bases here. There's a warp in. You can see right after the warp in, his minerals were at 65 and he had some small amount of gas. And that's pretty much where you want to be. At the end of that warp in, you got money. Or you don't have money, and then later you have money again. These probes are actually just sort of hanging out. He did move some down from here, down from that main, and get this base all saturated up, so that was very good. But you want to make sure that you move any idle workers. If we actually look at the maxbie cam, you'll see that there's an icon. For here it's F1. You can see that 16 of them are idle. If you control-click that, it'll select all of them, and you can move them quickly and easily. maxbie going to go ahead and move out. Now, the advantage of doing something like moving all of those probes down to, say, the third is that while you're out and about and doing your thing, you have no worries that these probes are collecting minerals so that you can remax quickly. maxbie has 6 warp gates. He needs to do a warp in. I note that his production tab has been pretty low. He's just been doing this one upgrade as he's been moving out. And that is very difficult as far as things to learn are concerned, is that you need to go ahead and keep producing units even while you're attacking. Now this fight goes pretty well for him. Viking does pick off one of the Colossi, but he moves them back and kills most of the army, and he's probably got the game won. But his forces are a little thin. I mean, if you look at the production tab for CraftynewB, he's making a bunch of Marauders, a bunch of Marines, he's getting upgrades, he's still doing all of this while he's being attacked, but maxbie is so focused on this attack that he's not making anything. Those 6 warp gates still unused for a good long time. maxbie going to go ahead and try and kill off all of these newly made units. More units still being made by CraftynewB, but no production here from maxbie. We could easily have these 16 probes mining, though maxbie's money is getting high largely because he's not making more units. That said, I think this will likely be the game for him, unless these Vikings can sort of turn it around by killing off. Looks like they do get one Colossus. Barracks are going down. Green's coming in, trying to make something happen. Not really doing it. maxbie still hasn't made anything. There's the GG, there's the end of the game. maxbie certainly did play a bit better than his Terran counterpart. And look, he's gonna go ahead and stay in here and enjoy this, because that's what you should do when you win. Before you pick anything apart, or get in a how can I improve myself mode, enjoy that. Congratulations, maxbie, you have won. But use your warp gates, and make sure that you move your probes down and do all of your macro and make all of your things while you're attacking. You'll be in really, really good shape. So this has been a replay analysis. If you would like to see me analyze one of your own games, please send it to noobcrafted@gmail.com. If you just want to see me cast a replay, go ahead and also send that to noobcrafted@gmail.com. And thank you so much, maxbie, for the submission. Thank you everyone else for watching. I enjoyed casting. Have a good night.